live.
We're doing live.
Hello, folks. This is Amped Up with Cliff Schecter. I am Cliff Schecter, but as always, the far more talented Emmy Award-winning David Shuster.
Cliff, our number of the day. Number of the day. 36%. That is Donald Trump's latest approval rating. 36% according to the Associated Press. He's at 62% disapproval. So if my math is correct, that is 26 points underwater, the worst that Trump has registered in the AP poll. I think this is even worse than any time in his first term. And the poll found, if you go into the subsets of the data, it's found that people are disgusted with the deportation policy. And there's also a certain level of incompetence with the Trump administration that the public now recognizes. Just a little bit. So, and that takes us, well, what's your reaction to that? And then I'll give you my incompetence story of the day.
Well, yep, I want to hear that in a second. I just want to tell people quickly, we have Dean Obeidallah coming up in about 15 minutes. He may have a big announcement, which is going to be fun. So stay here and tell all your friends and family. But I would say my reaction to that numbers, other polls, you always do an average because polls are not so reliable these days. But you had some that had them at 34 and 35 before, but you had others that had them around 40. The fact that they're all starting to kind of congeal, if you will, much like Trump's piss cotton candy hair congeals in the sun, around about 34, 35%. Not only does it tell you, I mean, we're barely above a third of the country approving of him, but we're marching towards goose stepping, if you will. 2/3 of the country disapproving of him. That disapproval number is just as important. And the last thing I'll say is I want to talk to that 2% who are like, hey, I don't know. I mean, it could go either way. This guy doesn't do anything that really strong that gives me an opinion. So, there's
maybe that 2% are people who don't know what planet they're on. But here's my question for you. So, Cliff, have you ever been to El Paso, Texas?
I have not. I was trying to think. I've been to a bunch of places, not that place.
All right. Well, a lot of people.
Very nice. What I hear.
Yeah, and a lot of people for about 8 hours the other night, nobody was getting to El Paso, Texas, because the FAA shut down the airport. Now, the FAA didn't bother to tell anybody initially on the ground, local leaders, why they were shutting down the airport. They just said, well, we're closing down the airport for 10 days because of a threat that we can't talk about, which caused a lot of people to freak out. Like, what the hell's going on? It turns out that this was
a threat we can't talk about. Yeah, it's a good way to...
It turns out that this is related.
Okay, go ahead.
Related to some friction between Sean Duffy, the transportation secretary who oversees the FAA, and Pete Hegseth, who runs the Department of Defense. The DoD apparently had been testing out or wanted to test out this sort of laser beam device that shoots down drones. And when the FAA got wind that this test was happening sooner than anybody thought, the FAA was like, wait a second, we're shutting down the airport because...
Maybe it's an alien laser.
Well, and in part, I suppose you can't blame the FAA for being a little bit jittery because it was a year ago when a Department of Defense helicopter smashed into a commercial jetliner along the Potomac River and 68 people were killed. And so there's not a lot of trust between the FAA and the DoD. Well, the White House, in the midst of all of this, after 8 hours, says, okay, let's stop the shutdown of the airport. The reason that we did this, according to the Trump White House, is because Mexican drug cartels have been flying drones across the border. Now, Mexico says the drug cartels...
By Mexican drug cartels, what he meant is there are a couple restaurants that need to send some tacos to customers and, who are hungry. And that's...
Well, it gets even better because Mexico said, and they said, all along, the drug cartels are using drones against each other, but not near the border. So who is using drones along the U.S.-Mexico border? Well, the Texas Tribune is reporting the U.S. military has been using drones along the border to try to go in and target Mexican drug cartels that are in Mexico. And this gets even worse. So on top of the U.S. military flying drones, maybe deciding if they need to shoot down their own drones, it turns out that what triggered the use of this high laser energy beam was not a drone, but a party balloon. The U.S. military saw a party balloon, thought it was a drone. They aimed their energy thing at the party balloon. It's not even clear if they actually brought down the party balloon. So this means that whoever was flying the party balloon could still threaten us with a good time. But putting that...
David, all I ask for, David, are sharks with freaking lasers here. And you can't... There's so many directions to go in with this. Like, I don't know what joke to make. But like, we've talked before. You've talked a lot more recently, very eloquently, which is much appreciated, about you wrote a column about the absolute fucking shit show that obviously that ICE is, and that it was a militarized version of INS created after 9/11 when we put together the Department of Homeland Security, and we did a lot of that on the fly quickly, even though there had been plans in place, where all sorts of and under that was aviation, by the way, but all sorts of things were put together. They don't necessarily belong together because these government agencies weren't talking to each other, and they need.
Yeah.
They're still not fucking talking to each other.
Right.
Clearly, Sean Duffy's probably, filming like, Real World 114th season at this point. We're going back to Boston, so he can, with his wife who was on Real World San Francisco.
Oh, and I got to stop you there because our friend Jonathan Larson had perhaps the line of the day. He was talking about how the FAA, has been burned before by the Department of Defense, and that clearly Sean Duffy didn't want to be caught with his pants down again. And then Jonathan Larson on the FA News Substack has the picture from Sean Duffy from his reality TV days where his pants are down. It's hilarious.
I told a story the other day of how I actually met him at a bar in Boston when they were filming, completely accidentally. I just wanted to get a drink with a friend. And we ended up talking to this guy and we noticed there were cameras on us. And then 30 years later, he ends up becoming a right-wing. He was probably always, but ends up being a right-wing freak of the variety that we talk about here. And this is what is so challenging with these guys, because you watch something like that performance from Pam Bondi yesterday, who literally, it's like, I feel like I'm about to see the scene from Planet of the Apes where the guy turns to the side and Charlton Heston sees that they've given him a lobotomy, the other human, because the apes don't want the other apes to know that humans could ever talk. It's part of their whole thing. And I'm like, I'm half expecting to see that she had a lobotomy, and to me, the enduring image, I meant to send it out and I don't know that I did, was with those women standing there holding up their hands. They tried to talk to the Justice Department about how they were raped by Epstein and the cabal around him. And mind you, this is getting a lot bigger. Zampoli, that schmuck who's the head of the Kennedy Center now, in the Epstein files. Ratner, who made the Melania movie, in the Epstein files. We know about Howard Lutnick and Donald Trump. Donald Trump, as our friend Julie Roginski said yesterday, appears in there more times than Jesus does in the Bible, or more times than Trump does in his own book he didn't write, as I like to put it. Then who was the other one? Oh, the Secretary of the Navy, who I don't even know his stupid name, but I know he was in the Epstein files. I mean, they're everywhere, these predators. I just named 5 or 6 of them, and I'm missing a few. There was a list somebody put out. There's about a dozen of them serving Trump in high positions, and then all of these other scumbags. And Bondi was just there like, I don't know what you're talking about. What's wrong with you? Where'd you get your law degree? Are you stupid? I mean, it was just, it was laughable. And I can't put them in any order. Maybe Representative Balint with the line of the day when she said, "I'm the Attorney General," and she said, "Really? I couldn't tell by her behavior." But Jasmine Crockett, Dan Goldman, Jamie Raskin. I mean, at one point, I think
I love when Chuy Garcia, read back from, I think it was a Wall Street Journal story that quoted, Trump administration insiders as Donald Trump has no confidence in Pam Bondi and feels that she's a failure and she's embarrassed. And he just read this to her face, and not as a question, just as a statement, and then he entered the article into the record, which was hilarious.
I think they all should have shown up and done it. Again, they would like me to. Hi, guys, I'm here. I would be happy to come meet with you, talk to you about the messaging stuff there, although I admit a lot of those responses yesterday were good, and I'm glad that people told her to be quiet and reminded her that she might understand how the law works, judging by what she's done. But if you're a witness, you're there to be asked questions, not to actually ask them and that kind of thing. But I think, again, it's the same thing that I would go into, and I always did it on a debate on Fox News with some right-wing pundit or idiot, which is you can't go in and act like that the person you're going up against is going to act in good faith at all. They're not. You know you're going to get some form of what you got. She somehow managed even to top puppy shooter Kristi Noem, who was pretty obnoxious when she came in and insulted members, but she was even worse. And now we know she spied on their search histories,
right?
Which is a crime, by the way.
Yeah.
She illegally,
another one.
Just another in the long list. My favorite in the end, Ted Lieu accuses her of perjury to her face and said, and then he sent out a tweet later when he said, "You've committed perjury, you've committed crimes, you're covering up for pedophiles. You should resign now because when we take over, you'll be impeached." And I was like, "That's my Democratic leader." It doesn't have to be Lou, it could be Goldman, it could be, but it has to be someone who speaks like that. Go ahead.
And I, what's been interesting to me is that there've been a number of lawyers, legal experts who have come out who know, a lot more about perjury and lying to Congress than I know under the law. But that Ted Lieu's point is actually spot on, because what Pam Bondi said is, she said there is no evidence that Donald Trump committed crimes, and everybody knows that. Now, an unconfirmed, uncorroborated tip to the FBI, that is still evidence.
It is. You follow up on that. Yeah.
It's not evidence that could necessarily be introduced in a court to convict you unless it's corroborated and confirmed, but it is still evidence. And so her statement, everybody knows that. I mean, that is like so far beyond a lie. And
right,
so a number
of
of legal experts have pointed out that, just that you could go to a grand jury with that single clip and you could get an indictment against Pam Bondi for lying to Congress. Now, obviously, you're not going to get that indictment from a Department of Justice until the Trump administration is done 3 years from now and you have a Democratic administration. But that's just one line from Pam Bondi in which she's in some legal trouble. The other thing that struck me, Cliff, about Pam Bondi's testimony is, never mind the reaction of all of us and of Democrats and progressives and everybody who knows what an idiot she is. Some of the far right folks, whether it's Tim Pool or whether it's Eric Erickson or even Nick Fuentes, are all saying that she should be impeached, she should resign, that she is pathetic, that she's a loser, that she has mishandled this, and that even Tim Pool is accusing Donald Trump and Pam Bondi of engaging in a criminal cover-up.
Yes. I went over to Twitter, that cesspool. I go there here. I don't do anything with my account for the most part, but I'll put up some of our videos and right now we stream there because I'll use them for whatever can further our message, even though I don't want to spend I won't spend any time giving any original thoughts over there that aren't part of what we do. But I purposely went over there because I wanted to see the reaction, like what you're saying. And I was shocked. And I don't, look, who knows anymore? Like blue checks don't mean anything over there. So I don't know who these people are, but a number of them, they claim they're a right-wing influencer, and maybe they're not, maybe they are, but they had hundreds of thousands of followers, a bunch of them. And they were literally defending Massey as a patriot, attacking her, saying she should be impeached, that she's covering up. And this has been the thing from the beginning with them, is every time they lie and obfuscate and try to bullshit more, they get themselves in more trouble because people don't believe them. Even the folks they're used to being able to fool on the far right do not believe them on this. It seems maybe you shouldn't spend, years, like putting this conspiracy in the heads of your followers when it turns out it's not a conspiracy as much as it's a truth about yourself. It's a conspiracy about the other side. As usual, they're projecting. It's what they do. So, I mean, we started this all off with Sean Duffy and Pete Hegseth, just because normally you'd sit there and be like, wow, are those the dumbest fucking people in the world? But then I'm like, wait a minute, Pam Bondi's here. I mean, it is a collection of riches. If you're a comedian, if you're a democracy trying to have a constitution, it's not so good. And so I'm glad they called her out. I'm glad for the people that did. But again, I would advocate, and I'm going to guess my friend here, Dean Obeidallah, who is here and is going to join. Dean, how are you?
Dean!
Hey, guys. Hello. How are you, gentlemen?
Hey, good. How are you doing, man?
Good. I'm trying to get my head bigger. Is that possible? Maybe I can move it in like this, really close?
Do that. Yeah, I want a good sight there. You've got.
I've got to move back.
You've got a solid dome going for you. Absolutely.
Dean, we're talking about Pam Bondi, and I mean, it's we were just sort of amazed by how stupid and incompetent she is, but also the right wing is recognizing that she's engaged in some sort of, criminal cover up, and she's lost a lot of MAGA support. What do you make of what happened?
And I want to ask along those lines the same thing, Dean, which is as a comedian, lawyer, airline pilot, no, I'm just kidding, professional soccer player, but no, as a lawyer and a comedian, he is both, and maybe something else soon that you may announce on the show. Like, how would you tell Democrats to go in there? Because I would just say, as I was saying before, like, I think a bunch of them did a good job of responding, but I don't even go in with people like her and assume good faith. We saw how Kristi Noem behaved. I think you just need to go in with your lines to nail her and to just, and hit her on stuff, because the truth of the matter is that, she's not going to do anything but lie. That's how I would do it. I'd go in prepared with jokes and insults, and that's it.
I agree with you. First of all, it's good to see both of you. I think that you're not going to get any honest answer, right? So you can't go in going, I'm going to get her on this. Your question is everything. Your question is the news. So whatever you ask in your question, that's why some of them made long statements and at the end raised their voice like it was a question. And she got upset. You just said something for 4 minutes. Like, yep, that's what they did, because they know you're a bad faith actor. So it's not like cross-examination of a witness at a trial. And I used to be a trial lawyer, where the witness doesn't answer, you get the judge, and the judge will direct the witness, and they have to answer. And their answers are the evidence for the case, not the lawyer's questions. In this case, it's the reverse. The answers mean nothing. They're going to be crap. We all know that. So the questions you ask are the key. So if you're a member of Congress, you're sitting there going, my question is going to include statements of fact that are true, because we're Democrats, that's what we do. And here's where we lay it out. And let her say whatever she wants. And if you want to be combative and fight, look at Jared Moskowitz, had a sense of humor about it.
Right.
I would recommend that approach as opposed to the screaming and yelling, because they want that on the other side. It's like the tears of the liberal, look how angry they are. If you're just like be laughing it off and kind of smiling, and you're being funny, and the home audience is laughing, even though she didn't laugh when Jared was being funny, she didn't laugh, but you could hear laughter.
Well, also, I agree. David brought up earlier what Chuy Garcia did, where he just read an article about how much Trump thought she was incompetent, or an editorial from the Wall Street Journal to get under her skin. I would do that and laugh the whole time and mock her. I think you're exactly right. You don't you have to lose it with her. Just mock her,
And Christy, no, I mean, look, and it's hard because we are good faith actors. You're doing your job. You're in Congress. You're doing oversight. You're doing the work for the people, right? It's any executive branch official comes in there, you're in Congress, you're doing your job, and you want real answers so the American people know how their dollars are being spent. That's why oversight is going on. They're not there. They're there to play. And in the case of, I think Pam Bondi, and I just wrote about it this morning for Substack, Pam Bondi was not just defending Trump. She's defending herself. This is a woman guilty of a cover-up of Jeffrey Epstein, and not just now, as I note in my article. Pam Bondi was Attorney General of Florida from 2011 to 2019 of Florida. Who else lived in Florida? Jeffrey Epstein. Who else was running a child sex ring, rape ring, and women trafficking in that time in Florida? Jeffrey Epstein. She made, as I note in my article, and I went back and saw news stories, 2013, 2015, look at the child predators we caught, zero tolerance for trafficking, especially if children are at issue. How many times she investigated Epstein? Zero.
Right.
How many times she charged Epstein? Zero. There was her cover-up of Epstein for powerful men who could help her career, and not just Trump, but others, began when she was AG of Florida. And there was no statute of limitations problem because DOJ charged Epstein in 2019. At the end, the statute of limitations had not run for any of those crimes. She intentionally made a choice. And I wish when Democrats get control of Congress, they do investigation into that. It's relevant to their oversight responsibility. What did she do then? And it gives you insight to what she's doing now with our taxpayer dollars.
Also, in Florida, she can't be, get the pardon from Trump for what she did, laws she broke in Florida.
Well, and to your point, Dean, I thought one of the most remarkable moments of the hearing yesterday, and it even showed up on Newsmax, was Gerald Nadler, congressman from New York, who Newsmax pointed out was sleeping throughout part of the hearing. But when he finally woke up, the question that he asked Pam Bondi was, how many of Epstein's associates have been indicted? And she, couldn't answer and said, well, this is, the Democrats are trying to make President Trump look bad. And to me, that was that's the ball game right there, because what has infuriated so many of the right wingers, Tim Pool and Newsmax and all these other folks, is that there is a group, and they put Trump out of this. There is a group of associates of Jeffrey Epstein whose names have continued to be redacted and blacked out in these files. A couple of them have come out because Massey and Ro Khanna were able to, push for it. But for the most part, there's, 20, 30 very powerful men who continue to be protected. And the right wingers see this and they want to see that list.
Well, Massey says he has the whole list at this point, right? On a flash drive. So speech and debate clause, why doesn't he just get up and read them? I mean,
well, Ro did. By the way, I wish the BAM image was bigger, so it just covers my whole face. And you just see just lips. just me talking because this isn't big enough, you guys.
Sorry,
okay, it's banned.
Like,
No, it's okay.
Oh,
I'm joking.
Look at Lawrence. Lawrence is like
right.
magic for us.
Very good, Lawrence.
Lawrence is going to put over my forehead now.
I had on Lisa.
Cliff's forehead. There we go.
Better.
There you go. Move it right to the middle there.
Just move it around. When anybody's talking, put it over their lips.
It's put over their mouth.
One eye,
awesome.
like that, the whole thing, like that. Look, I had on Lisa Phillips last week, one of the survivors. She was there in the room. She's been on before. And she speaks to the other survivors. This administration has been always to protect the powerful men over women. That's Trump forever, ever. That's forever for Trump.
Right, his whole life, yeah.
Right, so that's just happening now. It's being manifested now. And what I learned during the whole Epstein stuff from last year, and I was surprised, to be honest, there are people on the right who sincerely, organically, really want to know who's behind this, and they want to see accountability. I thought it was always about trolling the left, and they thought Bill Clinton was like the ringleader and all that. It didn't even matter. Some of them, and Trump didn't get that. It wasn't the typical issue. And that's where Marjorie Taylor Greene and some others broke. They were really, and I thought it was BS. I'm like, nope. And I'm like, wow, they are really willing to vote against them. So I think that on the right, there is some good faith actors who want to see the people who rape children and trafficked women be charged with crimes. And zero, except for Ghislaine Maxwell, have been charged. There's over 1,000 victims. There are hundreds, if not over 1,000 men involved. And you're telling me you've charged nobody? Nobody?
In Europe, they're starting to move towards charging them now. But of course, here, where there still are democracies, they're moving towards it. But here, on the other hand, no, I mean, you're absolutely right. The fact that this has been, there's been knowledge of this for I don't know how long. And I would add, I mean, again, I hate to bring this up, but I brought it up for plenty of other things. Hi, Merrick Garland. What were you doing? I mean, I don't know what you were doing with January 6th. I don't now. Let's add this to the pile. A lot of these things have been known for a long time. These files have been there. They've been available. And it just makes you wonder with all of these sort of greedy, private equity and tech guys and what with so much money, if they, who's being paid off by them, who just doesn't want to take them on because they're cowards, how much of it is that kind of stuff? Because, I mean, it's taken this long,
Well, look,
I mean, again,
just one quick thing though, Cliff, and I will never defend Merrick Garland because he was such a failure in not swiftly moving to indict Donald Trump, and our democracy depended on it. But as to the files, don't forget Ghislaine Maxwell's federal trial was 2021. She's sentenced in 2022. The appeal process, the immediate appeal is short time after that, it goes on. I could see not releasing it until after the trial is over and the sentencing is done, because at that point, I don't see any reason why they couldn't release it, but not many people were clamoring for it like this.
But there had to be other powerful actors.
Everything else.
Right. Let me ask you as a lawyer, like they're obviously going after her. I mean, she's one of the two biggest fish in this whole thing, so I get it. But when there's other powerful actors, including a former president of the United States who's in there, and at that point, and that kind of thing, wouldn't you maybe pursue some of them too? That's what I don't understand. They can walk and chew gum at the same time, I think, right? I mean, again, take Trump out of it. I mean, Peter Thiel is in there. Elon Musk is in there. I don't know exactly what they did, but I'd like to know. And when there are people that powerful, and take, even right-wingers out of it. So I'm not just going after the right-wingers. Bill Gates and, Richard Branson. And I mean, why not more? I don't understand.
I know. David, did you want to say something? I've been talking.
Well, I mean, to me, it gets to, I think where you're going with this is that the Justice Department, it was an ongoing investigation, and Justice Department protocols for decades and decades have been that you don't release secret grand jury information when there's an ongoing investigation. And I think part of the problem is that so many of the Trumpsters just sort of figure that, well, because the Department of Justice should be an arm for Donald Trump, that Democrats treated the Department of Justice as an arm for Joe Biden and Democrats as well. So that's where they get to this argument that, if the Democrats had anything, they would have released it. And the argument about, no, wait a second, is because it's an ongoing investigation, there's sensitivities, there's Justice Department protocols and guidelines that doesn't wash with people on the right who don't understand.
Also, David, those people don't know
level
Democrats.
of morality of the Justice Department.
Yeah, I mean, that's right, David. But also, I have to say, those people clearly don't know Democrats, because we have things all the time where, like, that would be mean if we said that, if we released that.
Yeah,
We don't want to say something like
nice.
that. That wouldn't be nice. That wouldn't be. That's us, okay?
Right. Cliff, one thing you said earlier, we have to go back to the idea of chewing gum and walking at the same time. I'm always amazed at that comment. If someone can't chew gum and walk at the same time, there's something deeply wrong with them. Like, they should go to the emergency room. Like, I've never had a friend go, hang on, I want to sit down. Why? I got to chew some gum. Right. Anybody can walk and chew gum. So I love how the media use that. Like, like that's a given. Oh, you can breathe and walk at the same time. Yeah, we can do the same. That's always.
Have you looked at Cash?
That expression drives me crazy.
Have you looked at Cash Patel? Are you confident he can walk and chew gum at the same time?
Cash, if you give him a trident, he's got to sit down. Right?
That's what I'm saying. That David's got the.
What is wrong with his eyes? Like, he looks like a character from Madagascar. Like, I'm not sure which one. Yes. You can pick any one you want. I'm not going to pick any, because that's when I'm in trouble.
He is
like the cute, adorable one, or something really creepy. But whatever one, he doesn't look real. He looks like a cartoon. I'm not kidding.
It's when he has like that picture he took with like the leather jacket on.
There's something so wrong with it.
The leather boots and everything. Like, what was that? It's like, is this like Oscar-eyed, or was it the Grouch or whoever, like, eyed cowboy here or something like that? Like, I mean, it's he's like Animal playing the drums, like, his eyes are all over the place.
The Muppets.
And it's kind of weird. You wonder deep down, does Cash Patel think that now I'm putting that whole trolling thing behind me, I'm going to be serious FBI agent? And I think he's actually tried, and it's been a failure. Yeah. And it's because he doesn't know the culture. I don't think he has any idea of being an organizational manager. He's good at selling like Trump books that he was doing and other garbage like that. You put in an incumbent person to the point where I spoke to Michael Fanone yesterday. I said to Michael, because he had threats against him, and I said, would you feel comfortable going to the FBI if you had threats now? And he said, nope, I would not. That's where we are. You can't trust them. They're a partisan actor now. And if they know you're on the side of good against MAGA, they won't even protect you. They won't help you. And I was stunned when Michael said that. And I was just curious what he would say, because he was saying, and he said that he had made, he had contacted them earlier in this term when they were in there about threats, and no one from the FBI even got back to him. And it's because they know his name. They just ignored his complaint, his call to them.
Well, and the idiocy of Cash Patel, I think it's on, unfortunately, it's on display in Arizona now, right, with the Savannah Guthrie mom case, because Cash Patel flew into there and said, oh, we have multiple people that are persons of interest. And all sorts of police say, no, we don't.
Did he learn it from watching like Hill Street Blues or something?
If anybody can mess up this investigation, it's going to be Cash Patel. And, it's one thing to mess up sort of an ordinary criminal investigation, but when you're talking with somebody who's as popular and well-liked as Savannah Guthrie, and now that investigation into her mom may get screwed up because of Cash Patel's incompetence, well, then you have, never mind the criminal issues, you have the the PR problem that Trump's.
I feel like you watched an episode of NYPD Blue once, and like that's what he's going completely on that.
I think he's following Death of Stalin, which was a great movie. I think it's much more like comedic and incompetent, and just round them up. Here's the list. Make sure you shoot this person in front of the other person. Really? No, reverse that. The other people. That's the kind of thing. Like, so why? And that was that. Or
it's springtime for Hitler.
Springtime, or Princess Bride. Was there a time like Gilder? They just round up some of the people and you put them in there. Let's hang a few of them. You see, we got the bad guy. Everyone go home. It's like, you killed my father.
Great satire works for a reason, because
it does.
All of this that we're actually living. I wanted to point out just again, this isn't funny, but in some ways, I want people to understand the ultimate irony. As I'm sitting here in Cincinnati, it's about 2 hours away from, hour and a half from Columbus, which is David's favorite city. As a University of Michigan guy, he loves it in Columbus. Well, let's talk about this for a second. The guy chairing the freaking committee yesterday was Jim Jordan. Mm-hmm. So I want you all to understand that
Jim, GYM.
Yes, GYM Jordan. So that I want everybody to understand that one of the biggest of the pedophiles on the Epstein list is Les Wexner, a billionaire located in Columbus who went to Ohio State, who also, another one they caught was a I think a professor at Ohio State who, of course, had an endowed chair, I believe, from Les Wexner, who's given them, he owned the Limited. That should shock you too.
Victoria's Secret, right? He was the CEO who started Victoria's Secret.
Victoria's Secret. That should shock you too, because it doesn't seem like the kind of thing that guy would do. But here's this billionaire in Columbus, who the one guy who let Epstein manage his money. Epstein would fly out to Columbus and stay at his place and all of this. Graduate of Ohio State, has put a ton of money into the school, and clearly this professor who was tied into Epstein. And then on top of all of that, the guy chairing the committee is Jim Jordan, who is, while he's a coach at Ohio State, 3 different wrestlers, an assistant coach, and a referee have all said under oath that Jim Jordan knew exactly what was going on when Dr. Richard Strauss was molesting these college-aged men on the team. I mean, just what I said should destroy an entire political party, but it doesn't.
It doesn't, and nor does the fact that Jim Jordan is the most mentioned Republican member of Congress in the January 6th report, and that Jim Jordan was the key significant player. That's the way they termed him. No other member of Congress was discussed as much because Jim Jordan did far beyond going on TV and lying about the election. He coordinated phone calls. He talked to Trump on the day of January 6th. The day before, he was texting Mark Meadows about what Mike Pence should say on January 6th, how to reject everything. They were involved. He was involved in messaging. And
the hotel, which I can't remember the name of it, where they were all meeting, he was a key part of that.
I don't know. Maybe he was. I'm not sure. I haven't read the January 6th report in a while on Jim Jordan, but I remember writing about this. And then how Jim Jordan was actually a criminal co-conspirator in the sense Trump committed crimes. He was charged with 4 felonies for attempting to overturn the election. Jim Jordan should have been charged because he took overt acts. That's more than just going on TV. He took overt acts in the furtherance of this illegal scheme, which was to overturn the election. And again, he led a phone call with Trump and other people in that orbit like a week before, including how to get the people from the ellipse to go up to the Capitol and be there. So Jim Jordan should have been indicted, and he
hide behind the speech and debate clause for doing that?
No, this was not. This was all phone calls.
I don't know. I don't know what extends where. I'm asking.
He was plotting the whole thing on phone. The speech and debate clause, it probably extends beyond being in the well of Congress, but this was plotting to commit a criminal conspiracy, and it's different. And Jim Jordan was also subpoenaed by the January 6th committee and blew it off, and there was never any repercussions because they were near the end of their time. So look, this is who the GOP is. That's why if we lose any more elections, the Republic ends. Like, this is it. This November is Gettysburg for us. It is the Battle of Gettysburg.
We become Caligula. I mean, honestly, that's what we're looking at, folks. Just understand.
Let's talk about some elections, and I understand that there may be some news, Dean, involving your future and political ambitions and what you're thinking about.
There's a Substack I read. I'm exploring a run for Congress. Here is why. It's by some guy.
Right.
Oh, it's Dean Obeidallah. That's who it is.
Look, I am sincerely exploring it. In fact, I met with people this morning, but I'm not sure if I'll get to the point of actually running. And it might be late in the cycle, but it comes from this place that as I write my article, like, I feel like I should be doing more in the fight against fascism. We are at war, and it's a war that Donald Trump declared upon us. And our republic, our democracy is literally on the line. Every day we are reminded. So my question, Cliff and Dave, that I go through my head, am I
going to ask us for campaign contributions right now?
No, because we're not even at that point. But it's the question I ask all the time is, am I doing enough? And am I more effective with my radio show and in the media than like giving up or at least taking a break from my radio show and media stuff, writing to go campaign? So that's where it's more effective, or being a platform for other Democrats, other progressives, and other organizations that protect our democracy through my show. So that's what I'm really grappling with. Winning in the district where I am, objectively very challenging.
Is that the one?
First of all, what district is it?
It's a 12th congressional district. It's Manhattan. It goes from 14th Street to 96th Street. There are literally 10 candidates. There are 2 assemblymen.
Is that Schlossberg and Conway are in that
one?
George
Conway. But what it's missing is a comedian. And there's not a comedian in this race. That's what America's clamoring for. The 12th district is spoken.
Absolutely.
And they're like, we want to do
that's Nadler's district, right?
Yes, it is. He's retiring.
Like, if I do it, my events will all have a cover and 2-drink minimum. Like, every speech I give, it's going to be.
If you just get up and say funny shit, I promise I will support you in any way.
That might be enough. But look, it really comes down to outgrowth. Like, what more can I do? Because on policy, some of the progressives we line up, I'm really lining up well with some of them. It's not like the only thing that I would talk about more would be about Palestinian issues, Palestinian humanity, being a Palestinian heritage. But that's the only.
I mean, disliking Jews like me and David, right?
Right. I know you're kidding. I love you guys. You two.
Come on, man.
You're the only
man.
two I like.
I've known you long enough. I have to believe I can joke with you about anything. So go ahead.
You can't. I'm going to leave now. So the point is, except for maybe the Middle East, that's really it. Every other issue is being covered in a way that I would do it. So it's really a question of, does it make sense or not? And that's what I'm exploring. If I ran and lost, because you have to think about that, to be honest, is it worthwhile for the time, the effort? Can I raise issues about the threat to our democracy in a way and frame it in a more effective way? Or even move the candidates more on, say, Palestinian humanity a little bit? That's possible. But that's the question. I'm sincerely talking to people nonstop in the district, people who are political activists, just Democrats.
I think it's my district where I grew up. I mean, so does it include like the East 20s?
Yeah, it goes from 14th Street.
You said 14th, but I didn't know.
Right across, like 13th and 14th, all the way to 96, and it creeps up to about 107th on the west side. Just one little thing.
So
Dean, you would have fun. I mean, let's put aside the issues for a second. Wouldn't it be fun to campaign and you run around New York City, Manhattan, shaking hands and meeting people and having people give you free food and all that kind of stuff? Wouldn't that be fun?
Except for the food part, because I don't eat much food. There are like 7 comedy clubs in this district. I'm not kidding. It is the most comedy club laden. So I would just do every comedy club around here, bring people together, have some fun, have some laughs, and hopefully inspire people.
Could I show up as Eddie Murphy doing an old Jewish man and endorse you? Like it's like a man wants to call himself Dean Obeidallah, and he wants to stand up for what he believes in. That kind of a thing.
As long as it's not in blackface, I'm fine.
No, I'm doing the opposite.
Okay, you said Eddie Murphy. Eddie Murphy doing it like that. So Eddie Murphy did whiteface when he did the old Jewish man and Come to America.
Right, that's what I'm talking about. Remember in Coming to America?
Yeah, he did whiteface.
A man wants to call himself Muhammad Ali.
Well, it would be. The logistics would be convenient, right? Because you just go to the 2 and the 3 subway stops or whatnot, and you just pass out literature and meet people. I mean, you'd be able to meet so many people in such a short amount of time, right?
I talked to people running for Congress around the country where they have to drive 4 hours to get around the district. This is literally 6 subway stops. You go from one side of the district to the other. I'm not even exaggerating. You take the N and the R on 14th Street, and you're where I live in like 5 stops. You can get to 96th Street by just changing trains.
No, let me tell you to get there quicker. If you go up to Grand Central, you can head over to Times Square. No, I'm just kidding.
No,
those New York conversations where we say stupid.
The hardest part is crosstown's the hardest part.
Yeah.
But look, David, I agree. There'd be a fun thing. I enjoy talking to people. That's life, right? So I would enjoy going out there and talking to people. I cannot raise. There's 2 assembly people have raised like $1 million plus already, and to get in late so it's not. I'm not going to go in going, I'm going to catch them. It's going to be focusing on ads on the issues that I'm really passionate about, talking about those. And hopefully some people it gravitates to, and maybe they volunteer or donate to the campaign and just fight it out till it's over at the end of June. But
can I ask you something serious about? I mean, in all seriousness, trying to do an analysis the best I can of like you ask a question, do you think you'd be helpful or not? Do you have to, if you run and you were to not, do you have to give up, you probably have to give up your radio show?
I'd have to take a leave of absence.
Okay, so it still is there for you.
For the FCC, once you become a qualified candidate, which means not announcing, as I've learned, it's actually giving your petition of signatures in and being certified. That's what triggers the equal time rule under the FCC. So that would be, I would have to leave for 2.5 months after that.
Because that's how I would do the analysis. Look, I mean, in all, whatever, you're a great communicator, obviously. You use humor, but you also know the law. You're passionate about issues. So you're communicating already on this show every day. Mm-hmm. So the question to me becomes, though, if you're running, then you will get more press attention and your message will get out there further during that period of time. So if I were thinking about it, and obviously you were kind enough to send me an email and do whatever, I'm happy to talk in other real terms off air too. But as a general kind of analysis, I would think, it doesn't hurt you to be in the race if you know you have that to go back to, if because the reason why I always get so upset when we don't run people in certain races is not that you don't have people there, you have like 10, but you have a perspective and an important one, your background, a lot of things about you that I think you could add to it, and you're a good communicator. And so that tells a story. We don't have the built-in, right-wing ecosystem. So I think it's important that we have people out there during campaigns, no matter where they're telling our story. So if it's my perspective, if that's what you're thinking about, I think even if you lose, like you could make a great impact during a period of time for a couple of months and go back to your show if you're okay with that being the situation, because you'll have to work your butt off,
Right.
obviously, and and all of that.
And I'll be on your show every day, of course.
Yes.
Look who's back. Every time you log in, I'm going to be there. Like, why is he here? Like, he's got nothing else to do. He just wants to get more press. No, but the one thing is, it cuts both ways, right? I'm in the biggest media market in the world, but I'm in the biggest media market in the world, right? So there's so much competition to get press. Getting press beyond the context I have in the media, I might get a little, but the other candidates want it. John Kennedy's grandson inherently gets some press because it's press worthy that he's running. Seems like a nice young guy. He's in his 30s and an impressive guy. The assembly people have their own lane of stuff. So, and it wouldn't even be like, honestly, if I ran, it's not even like I'm running against them. It's really running for the issue
what I mean.
care about. Right.
You're not going to tear them down. So if you're running and getting I'm not saying, yes, you're in the media center, you have a radio show. Still, like, the press focuses in because of the horse race crap on these races in a way they focus on nothing else. And I still think if you were out there with a message, went to debates, things of that nature, that in that way, maybe you could reach more folks. I'm not saying, I don't know. It's a hard calculation.
Right, in my brain. I thought what do you guys think of this? Because, Jack Schlossberg is the Kennedy, but his last name isn't Kennedy. What if I claim I'm the Kennedy? No, that my mom is the Kennedy. Yeah, I know. Like, no, I look younger on pictures.
Dude, you can win the Q vote.
In the race.
RFK Jr. still.
Dean, here's how I would evaluate it. I mean, here's
Let's hear David Shuster. He's a real journalist. Come on.
My evaluation would be, look,
first
there's the financial security, right? If you've got an opportunity, if the job is going to be there, if you run and you lose, and you can go back to the radio show, and that's pretty certain. I think there's nothing to lose. I think, first of all, you would be a great candidate. People would enjoy meeting you and talking with you. You're a terrific communicator. I think you have a lane that would be different from Schlossberg and some of the other folks. And in a race with 10 candidates, it's not like you need 30%. If you can pop
you have a big moment, right?
Initially, and you're competitive, then maybe it goes up in the last couple of weeks of the campaign when people realize, oh, this Dean guy, he's a front runner, and I think you'd be great. I think you'd be great.
What if we all just say Dean is the front runner?
That's it.
Over again. Let's just start on here. Just keep repeating it.
Yeah, I would have quotes like a movie review. The front runner, David Shuster. It'd be like,
I'm telling you, man, we could do it. Just keep saying the front runner, Dean. The other idea I have is you brought up that Nadler was asleep the other day when he was in the thing.
Yep.
So here's my idea for you. You ever see Back to the Future Part 2? Of
course. I've seen.
So you show up while he's asleep as Darth Vader from the planet Vulcan. If you remember, that's how he showed up to get his dad to ask his mom out on a date because he had messed up the whole thing. You're like, I am Darth Vader from the planet Vulcan.
Yeah.
You want to endorse Dean Obeidallah or your life or the lives of Americans will be at risk or something while he's like half asleep. Just an idea.
I like that. Or an Inception thing where you use like DiCaprio, they go in during a dream, place it in there through a whole charade of different scenes. I like that. I like that idea. Look at Nadler. He picked the right time, I think, because when you have a member of Congress from this district who's sleeping, but look, he's been. Yeah. It's interesting though to be in New York. This district is the wealthiest in New York and one of the entire country. But the thing is, my whole spiel would be talk about the working class and the working.
Of course.
Yeah. So it's going to be. You hope that there's enough progressives who will be like, yeah, I'm doing fine, but I get it.
Having, I would say this, Dean. I mean, this is something I've been talking about a lot. Having grown up there, and having a bunch of friends who are still there. David lived there and has worked there, and pretty good idea. It has gotten to be so outlandish, so expensive, and you can look at the ways in which monopolies and as I would call them now, the predator billionaires have turned us all into prey. There's people there making $500,000 a year who are like, I can't send my kids to childcare. Right. I don't have health care that I can afford. I can't send my kids to college. It's gotten so out of whack. And now they're looking at a future of AI may erase my white collar job in like 2 or 3 years. And unlike European countries where they would be like, well, we'll have a universal basic income. Here we'll be like, you're shit out of luck. Because that's the way we tend to do things. So I think, honestly, there's a message that you would have aimed at working class folks 10 years ago that you can aim at a broad base of working middle and, quite frankly, upper middle class New Yorkers, which is you're all going to be priced out too. Elon Musk is extracting from you too. Mark Zuckerberg and Jeff Bezos are extracting from you too.
I'll give you an example, Cliff. So we're still in contact with families at the private school where we send our kids. We were at 68th and Broadway, and you qualify now for tuition assistance at some of the private schools if your joint income is less than $700,000 a year.
Seriously,
less than.
They give you assistance. David sent me this article.
That the cost of living, I mean, it's crazy. And so private schools, if you're making less than 700, they will give your kid tuition assistance because they know you probably can't afford $80,000.
You're a poor middle class
private
person.
School kid.
Make it, you're just
crazy.
middle class.
That's unbelievable. With my income, they should give me a kid or so. I mean, that's ridiculous. Like,
Epstein would. Don't.
No, I don't want kids.
But to Cliff's point, I mean, New York, Manhattan, that district, it's getting harder and harder, even for sort of upper middle class Americans to live there.
And
I do think that there's a message. This all ties together.
Those areas too, which has only now made it so these folks who were living there, who at least were getting away with paying $2,000 a month or whatever it was, for a decent place, are now paying $7 or $8 or whatever because they've gotten rid of so much of the rent control. So I think there's a message there, Dean. I mean, I think there really is a lane there if you want to do it.
It's funny though, but the conversation you're having outside of the world that we live, where I live, doesn't resonate. Like I actually had a conversation with someone the other day who was liberal, but the idea the mayor wants to see income raised on people over $1 million. It should really be 2 million, because $1 million you really can't make ends meet in New York. Anywhere else you hear that, you're like, what is wrong with you? Like, are you that? But this person was not. They were actually, they have a family and kids and all this kind of stuff, and they live in New York City. They were being sincere. Now, if you take a step out, anyone else hears that from around the nation, like, wow, there's something deeply wrong with these people. They have $1 million, or someone's struggling to make ends meet, and they have 2 or 3 jobs. That
right. So, but it's going further and further, Dean, is what I would tell you. Well, in other words, New York is still, and San Francisco and a few other cities are the extreme. But I live in Cincinnati here, and I mean, what we've seen happen with housing values in some of the nicer neighborhoods here used to be, you can go to Cincinnati, it's cheap, it's easy. Now you're looking at multi-million-dollar homes where they used to be like, $500,000 or $250,000. You're looking at, all sorts of other things that become more expensive here. Obviously, healthcare has gone up for everybody. And so I know people here who make what most people would consider a pretty good living. And they're like, I don't know how I'm gonna pay for college for my kids. They're gonna have to get loans. I never thought that was gonna have to happen. So I do think it may not be as extreme as New York, but it's gone beyond New York at this point.
But that's why the argument for healthcare for all, that's actually practical. And that, my view of it is no longer talking about this, we have to get rid of all private insurance. That's a loser. You can't do that. You bring down the age of eligibility for Medicare from 65 to 60, and then you stress test it, and then down to 55. If people want to keep their private insurance, they can. But if not, think about the burden lifted off a family of 4, not to have to pay for health insurance or even contribute to their employer's plan. They go on Medicare, single payer program. It works well for seniors. It's very popular.
Yeah.
That's what Zoran won in New York, not just because he's a good speaker and charismatic. He had policy proposals that, if you think about them, will change your life. Free childcare will change your life. It's the second biggest expense. Freezing the rent it won't be transformative, but it will have a big change, because you don't have to worry about that envelope you get every year from the landlord. And I'm a renter. You get that, and you're like, how bad is this going to be? Like, now it's going to be frozen. You can allocate your budget accordingly. So
I talk about also all the time family and medical leave, which we're the only, again, like so many other things, the only high income democracy, if we are still that doesn't have that. We have the one that Bill Clinton got passed that's unpaid, which was better than at the time, but we don't have paid. And 85% of people are in favor of that. It cuts across everything. Like if you ran on universal, and again, give people a choice. Germany, Belgium, they have multi-payer where you can choose a private company that's very regulated to hell, that is as good as a public option. You could do it that way. But if you talk about universal healthcare, universal childcare, and you could put it in different language, but whatever, and universal family medical leave, I think you do pretty freaking well in New York City.
No, it's so funny, the things you talk about there, how well they poll. Yet Democrats are labeled as radical and communist and socialist. Like the idea of expanding Medicare to finally cover dental, vision, and hearing. Like 90% of Americans are down with it, yet that still couldn't pass. It was in the Big Better bill. Remember that one?
Yeah.
But like, how come they don't strip that out?
Why
not just strip that out and make it on its own? Why should any senior have to deal with the idea of vision, dental, hearing? Can I go get my medicine or can I get my teeth fixed? You know, can I live my life without a hearing aid?
And then they decouple mental health. So people are paying who have to go to psychiatrists, you know, are paying all sorts of money or can't afford it. And I mean, like, there's just so many holes. I have just a prescription that I have to take. And I was going to tell this story on a note the other day and I forgot to do it. And in December, I got it, you know, this thing. And I went in January, get it. I'm like, okay, I'm going to grab it in January. It had gone up. I thought they were shitting with me, honestly. It had gone up 400%. And I was just like, what do I do? And, you know, they're like, well, we're paying this much. And I'm like, that's wonderful. It still went up. I mean, we're not talking about something that was, you know, like a $40 thing. Now, I mean, you can do the math on that. It's, you know, in the end, it's going to cost me like, what, 160? This is per month, right? For one thing.
Trump's going to bring it down 10,000%.
That's right. You're going to pay me
pay you to take
9 times what it's worth. That's
I mean, I'll give you this pledge. I'll make you a pledge. The last person that I know that ran for Congress, a buddy of mine, Michael Schur, who ran for Congress in California, and I think he finished. I thought he was great. He ended up and he finished like fifth out of 7 guys. There were 7 people who were running, but he had a whale of a time. I mean, he had so much fun, and he was in his element and a great communicator. And I have to say, personally, like, I went out one day and I canvassed with Michael Schur, and I haven't had so much fun in politics in a long time. So I will pledge to you, if you run, I will come down. I'm in Connecticut. I will come down to Manhattan. I will canvass for you, and we will have a
too. I'm coming back to New York, baby.
This is great. Fun. I've got 2 volunteers.
We're on board.
This reminds me of like in Forrest Gump with Lieutenant Dan saying, if you ever get a fishing boat, I'll be your first mate. And he shows up and he's, what are you doing here, Lieutenant Dan? He said, you said, he's like, oh, so that's it. You guys will both be Lieutenant Dans, Lieutenant Dave and Lieutenant Cliff.
And we would I would be proud to associate with you and your views and your policies and the Middle East and everything. I think you would be terrific. You'd be awesome.
I know, I do.
Look, sometimes these races are decided oftentimes they're decided not by who is the best communicator or has the best policies or deserves it the most, but by factors that we cannot control. Right. And that may be the case in this particular district, but the stuff that you can control, the stuff that's right in front of you, you would be great at. And
I do, because you enjoy, you like talking to people, you like doing this kind of thing, right? So, I mean, I don't know. I mean, again, you have to make a decision.
Right now. Let's have everyone watching, you vote for Congress, and whoever you vote for wins. That's it. I don't care the other candidates are not here. Like, if you're going to vote for,
we know people running too. Like Fred Wellman's running right now, who's a friend. He's having a great time. I've got a good friend we've had on the show before, an Oppo research guy. I worked on the Democratic side. He's a good friend, Brett DeResta. He's running for school board in Bethesda. You know, not the same thing, but he's having a great time. Like, this is the most friends I've ever seen get into races. An old friend is talking about running out in California, Matt Ortega. I don't know if you ever met Matt. He was on a few various Democratic campaigns in the past as like a digital guy. Like, I've seen it with a couple people, and they all seem to really be enjoying it. And so, you know, like, I don't know, again, like, I don't want to tell you what to do, but I would say, if you're viewing it are you having enough impact? I would say, first of all, you know, you never need to ask yourself that question. I mean, Dean, you've done so much over, you know, I remember when David was on Current TV, we'd go on, you and me as guests, and we'd be on with one of those crazy people on the right, you know, and like, they would think that they're going to out argue us, and we'd kind of just laugh at them. That happened at least a couple of times I could think of on Current with it was either Young Turks or Oberman's program or whatever you were doing at that time, David. And like, you've been doing this for a long time, man. I think you could say you've done more than like 98, 99% of people out there.
That's it. I think you're right.
Do it because you believe in it. Do it because you want to do it.
Were you also at Al Jazeera, or were you?
I was at Al Jazeera. Yeah, Al Jazeera America until
I remember. No, I remember. That's what I remember. I mean, I remember Current, but I also remember more. I guess AGA America was after Current.
Yeah, so Current TV got bought by Al Jazeera, and then they essentially took all the cable placements, and some of us went from Current to Al Jazeera America.
I remember that.
And I had this conversation with my wife, actually, one of the strangest professional experiences of my life. So Al Jazeera America, they had all sorts of issues, and it wasn't a great time for them, and they should have just gone to a digital instead of cable. But they decided to pull the plug 3 months before they were going off the air. And so for those of us, and this was during the 2016 primaries, and so for those of us who are covering politics, it's like, okay, well, we can still show up to work and do our job. But then there's some of my colleagues like, hey, this place is going off the air in 3 months. I'm just going to go hide. And I was one of those people who said, no, I'm gonna play until the whistle blows. I'm going to give everything I have to the audience. I'm going to cover. I'm going to stay until 1 in the morning.
Dave went and bought a bunch of gummies and he went and he got himself a bottle of whiskey, and he'd go on the
And
air every day.
Right to the end, I worked hard thinking, oh, maybe someday it'll pay off. People say, oh, Shuster's that guy that works hard until the end. But
By
in
the way,
any
thank
case,
you,
it was
Madison G-Man, for the $10 super chat. We appreciate it. I think I know who that is.
But Al Jazeera America, it was a collection of network news all-stars. I mean, it was such a great group of talent, and it was too bad it didn't work.
So, guys, one quick second,
Anyway.
as my friend reminded, and damn it, I remember because I had it up here. We have a good friend who's a supporter of the show, Mike Farley. His wife, Jen Farley, has a business, and she makes these pillows that are much better than my pillows. They're not like all rocky and lumpy with crack cocaine in them and crazy people. But, and as you can see, it's a fuck Trump pillow. If you
Wow.
can see, that is
nice.
embroidered on there. Am I holding it upside down or the right way? No, I had it. And they also have the fuck ice variety now. I think I may get one of those, but I am going to make sure that people here know, because these are good friends of mine, and they are making something that I think would make us all feel more comfortable to lie down on. It's soft for our heads, and also, of course, supportive of what we're thinking inside of our heads.
That's something.
Well, what I'm thinking of, Dean, when's the deadline? When do you have to make a decision by?
Well, there's the real deadline. The hard deadline is that you have to have all your petition signatures in by the first week of April. The window opens to gather signatures February 24th. You can't gather them before that to run for Congress in New York. They have a very regimented system here in New York. So I sort of loosely gave it by the end, like the next 2 weeks, by the end of February, because if I'm going to run, I'd have to start then, because then I have to get volunteers and get signatures. You have to get 1,200 registered voters in the district to get on the ballot, and then you'd begin raising funds and talking to people and go from there. But right now I enjoy talking about it. I enjoy talking about the issue. That's why I have a show 3 hours a day talking about this stuff. So again, maybe the focus.
You could invite us on sometime, Dean. I mean, I'm still waiting for an invite on your show. It kind of
Well,
hurts.
do you have like the website ready to go and the domains and all that?
No, I don't know. I mean, I bought a while ago.
I'm gonna buy Dean for Congress. I'm gonna buy it.
I bought deanfornewyork.com a while ago. All right, that's it. But I know website. No, because
I think you get Palestinian Kennedy is what you get put up there, and that should
like,
be
what is that? It's what I am. I'm the Palestinian.
You're like, I'm really the Kennedy. I'm the
His name is
Palestinian Kennedy.
Schlossberg. That's a
Right.
middle
I don't know who
name.
that Schlossberg guy is or what the hell
It's
that means.
Obeidallah.
That sounds suspiciously un-Kennedy-like.
I've always liked the Kennedys. I'm going to go with it. I'm the Kennedy. People are like, you're the Kennedy. I'm the Kennedy. That's it. But how can you disprove it? You know, my mom's a Kennedy. Like, really? Sort of.
Speaking of moms, and my mom, who was a dedicated, loyal viewer of this show, and without even talking to her, I can read her mind. And right now, she's going to say, "How do I help Dean Obeidallah if he does this run?" So here's my question, because I guarantee you, Dean, she's the first person to buy like merch from Blue Amp Media.
She is.
Supports everything that happens.
Is so awesome and has
T-shirts, the whole
grabbed so
thing.
much of our stuff.
She will be the first person to contribute to your campaign if and when you make that decision. So if you do make that decision, what do people do? Where do they find you? How do they say, "Hey, I want to support Dean"?
As of now, it would be following me on Substack. So I'll make the announcement there on Substack. It's just the Dean's Report, or just Google Dean Obeidallah, or people.
I'm going to put in your
my
article where you announced that you were considering. So folks, here you can go click on this article, and of course, while you're there, you can subscribe.
Yeah, please do. I'm very needy. I would like, you don't have to do any payment. If you'd want to, of course.
I put in the wrong thing. I put in the StreamYard thing because I'm an idiot. Hold on, folks.
All right.
Well, and so Dean, just to give you a heads up, so when Susan from Indiana, who is a national tennis champion, donates to your campaign and reaches out, that's my mom.
That's great. Well, Susan, I'm ready to take your money, but we're not there. Not yet. We're not at that point. And again, we might not get to that point. Maybe it's a future thing, but I really feel like this is the time in a way just I feel that we honestly are at war, and I feel like I should do more, and we'll see. And if not, I will just lean in more to my show and even do much more activism outside of my show as much as I can.
We can talk to you about that because, I will say this seriously. Like, if you run, totally supportive and do whatever we can. Otherwise, we've had some great folks on this show who are doing, all sorts of amazing things on the ground, activism like we had on, was a week ago. I lost track at this point. Miles Taylor, who's anonymous and all that. And he does some amazing things on the ground. We're going to be working with his organization to use this platform that I don't know how we got, but grew to a pretty big size and try to promote what he's doing. And let people know where they can be active on the ground to help protect the elections coming up, because we know they obviously are going to try to steal them because they know they're going to lose, get crushed by God knows what margin. So, if you have ideas, I mean, I just think on the progressive side of media, we don't get the billionaire funding, we don't get to this, we don't get to that. You've got a great radio show. We've got a pretty big audience here. There are ways we can work together and amplify what you're doing, and you can amplify what we're doing. I feel like a lot of us should be having these kinds of.
I just got my George Soros check, though. I should show you that.
That's awesome.
Hey, Dean, we stand for your success and your happiness, whether you're a candidate or not. We love you. We love you dearly, regardless of what you decide.
David and Cliff, thank you guys. Now,
it's like having Dean Martin on, but the Palestinian one. Like it's.
And I'm also half Italian, so there is the Dean Martin connection.
Oh, look at that!
I'm half Dean. I'm half Palestinian, half Sicilian, half Palestinian.
Keep us posted on what we can do.
I will.
Way,
I'll let you know. I'll know in the next couple of weeks. But thank you guys so much, and thank you to your audience for tuning in and some of the nice comments. Some people listen to my show and they wrote some nice things. So thanks, guys. Have a great day.
Absolutely, our pleasure. Thanks so much for being here.
And Cliff, what a great show.
I love the shows where we can be very serious, but we also can find things to laugh about. It just makes my soul feel better. So I'd feel bad. I think there's like where are we? I feel bad if I didn't promote the fact that. Guess what, folks? Round 2 of Tequila Talk is coming up tonight. I'll be on with Joe Walsh at 6 p.m. We're going to be talking about, actually, from now on, we're connecting our tequilas to what it is we're talking about. A great 1800 tequila here. We're going to talk about how that ties into DC becoming the swamp, and the stories of those that made it that, and the billionaires right now who are preying on it. So we're going to tell you some things you don't know, and we're going to drink tequila. So join us at 6. This is awesome, David. I know you got kids to go pick up. Yeah. I mean, who really needs to pick up kids, though, right? I mean, they'll figure it out and walk.
They'll be fine on their own. They'll figure out how to do it.
I have a younger one
show,
who
my
just
friend.
started
Well
driving, and I'm like scared out of my mind, but excited for him. So, in any case, David, thank you for being here. All of you have been awesome. Thank you all for being here. And as the sun sets slowly in the west, we bid you a fond farewell.